Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm John Falchicchio, Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development, and welcome to the Recovery Weekly Check-In with DMPED. On behalf of Mayor Bowser, I want to welcome you all to today's show and today's presentation. We have a lot to cover today, really to talk about and focus on how we build Black wealth in the District of Columbia. Before we do that, a couple updates for our small businesses. We wanted to talk to you today and remind you today to check out coronavirus.dc.gov/phase2. On that page, you can find information about the free PPE distribution that's happening. We have two partners in coordination with the Department of Small Local Business Development, the Mayor's Office of Nightlife and Culture. Those partners are the Downtown DC bid and the Anacostia bid. At the Convention Center and at Mapleview Flats later this week, you can pick up PPE for your business, for your nonprofit, for your medical office, all free of charge. The only thing you need to do, though, is to register before you head to the Convention Center or Mapleview Flats by going to coronavirus.dc.gov/phase2. So check that out and make sure you take advantage of that opportunity. The other opportunity that we wanted to talk to you about this week was another program called PPP. So we talked about the free PPE. PPP is the Paycheck Protection Program, a federal loan program by the Small Business Administration, which allows you to borrow a forgivable loan mostly for payroll and other expenses. And depending on how you utilize the proceeds of that loan, it is a forgivable loan product. What President Biden did just yesterday was he announced that this program would actually be set aside for businesses with 20 employees or fewer starting tomorrow. So what we ask you to do is check out pppready.com. pppready.com is a site that Mayor Bowser set up for DC businesses to help them navigate the PPP program. So we look for you to check that out as well. So you could get free PPE and you could check out pppready.com. With that, I want to bring in our first guest who's been with us on the check-in before, and that's Commissioner Karima Woods. She is the Commissioner of the Department of Insurance, Securities, and Banking. She's going to kick us off with what we wanted to talk about today, which was really financial empowerment for our residents. So I'll kick it to the Commissioner, and I want to ask folks, before I do, if you have questions about this topic or any of the topics that we talk about today, press 0 if you're listening on the phone line, and if you're on social media, you could hit us up in the chat on Facebook or use the hashtag DCHope on Twitter. So press 0 if you're on the phone line, check out the Facebook chat if you're watching there, and then of course on Twitter you could use the hashtag DCHope, and that's how you could join the conversation. So with that, I want to turn over to Commissioner Woods to talk about the work of the Department of Insurance, Securities, and Banking.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Falchicchio, and good afternoon to everyone. As Deputy Mayor Falchicchio has indicated, I am Karima Woods, Commissioner of the District's Department of Insurance, Securities, and Banking, and I'm honored to be here with you today to talk about financial empowerment and education and its importance to our residents here in the District of Columbia. I also want to just thank and recognize you, Deputy Mayor, for your leadership and the work that you and your team have been doing to provide information and resources to district residents around their finances and helping to support them during this very difficult and challenging time. And as a former DMPEDer myself, I sincerely appreciate all of the work that you and your team are doing. With that, I want to share a little bit about the department and the work that we do on the behalf of district residents. I'm in charge of overseeing a regulatory agency that oversees the financial services entities in the District of Columbia that have a direct impact on the lives of district residents. We are fully committed to also informing, educating, and empowering residents around their financial health and future. And so you'll hear more about ways in which we go about doing that today. We also provide information to residents about financial scams, financial products such as mortgages, banking services, insurance, business insurance. And so we want to make sure that our residents are fully informed about the information that is available to them about their financial health and well-being. All of this information is available on our website at www.disb.dc.gov, and you'll hear us say that throughout the presentation. So if you didn't catch it, just know that we'll share that information again. So today's check-in is quite timely because this week we're nationally recognizing America Saves Week, and this is in keeping with the mayor's vision and theme around inclusive prosperity. We at DSB are really using this as an opportunity to raise awareness about the importance of saving your money and the importance of reducing the debt. So you'll hear more and more about that. Here in the District of Columbia, only 67% of households keep emergency savings in the past year. And we know that this past year that a number of our residents were impacted and had to tap into those emergency savings funds. And so we want to talk about the even more importance of having those savings available for future emergencies. One of the programs that you'll hear about today is our Opportunity Accounts program, which is a 4-to-1 match saving program that will help qualified district residents save up to $7,500. You'll hear more about that from one of the participants of the program, Alana Joyner, who's here today. She participated in the Opportunity Accounts program, so you can hear directly from her. Many residents have used this program to save for homes, to provide for savings for education and for auto loans, and so you'll hear more about the Opportunity Accounts program. In addition, February is Black History Month. It's an opportunity to really recognize the achievement of African Americans. Actually, earlier today, one of our staff members, Ebony Gibbs, presented to our staff a whole presentation around the achievements and contributions of African Americans to the financial services industry. That presentation is available on our website, so please check it out, www.disb.dc.gov. In addition, the department is hosting a series of different events throughout the month of February for residents to help them with their finances and to empower them. We've had a number of programs around our Bank on DC program, which is for individuals who need second chance accounts and to help them avoid check cashing fees. We also have our Financially Fit DC program, which you'll hear more about from Michelle, that helps everyone from new wage earners to retirees to become more financially stable, and our Student Loan Ombudsman. So we have a series that we've conducted throughout the month of February about higher education, student loan debt, managing that student loan debt, getting out of that student loan debt, and we wrap up that series this Thursday, February 25th at 4 o'clock with the final presentation about the FAFSA form. We know that a number of families are preparing young people for college, and so we want to provide all the information necessary to assist those families in preparing for college. So again, please visit our website. We also know that residents are struggling right now to pay their mortgages, and so we have a foreclosure prevention program that is managed through our contract with Housing Counseling Services. The program provides foreclosure prevention counseling, legal assistance for homeowners facing foreclosure, and also a hotline for distressed homeowners. Over 440 households in the district were helped through DSB's foreclosure prevention services in 2020. And so we want to make sure that residents know about this service and utilize it fully. And then lastly, we also have a program catered to our small businesses. We know that many of our small businesses have been directly impacted during this COVID-19 pandemic, and so we want our small businesses to know about our DC BizCap program. As the Deputy Mayor mentioned several months ago, I joined one of my colleagues to talk about the DC BizCap program. We have a series of different events tailored to entrepreneurs and small businesses to inform them about access to capital and ways they can access that capital through our DC BizCap program. And lastly, I want residents to know that at the department, we're doing everything that we can do to be mindful of the issues related to diversity, equity, and inclusion. I know that that has been a focus for the weekly check-ins, and I do want residents to be aware of some of the steps we've taken internally to address this through a newly established initiative that focuses on diversity training, recruitment practices, racial disparities and inequities, and the ways that these very important issues impact the insurance, securities, and banking industries here in the district. So that's another very important focus of the work that we do. So again, I want to just thank you for the opportunity to be here today and to share information about what the department is doing. Again, visit our website at www.disb.dc.gov. Also follow us on social media at DCDisby and hashtag DCDisby. If you want any information about our programs, it's all made available. With that, I want to introduce my colleague, Michelle Hammonds, who is the director of DISB's Office of Financial Empowerment and Education, and she and her team do a phenomenal job in heading up all of our financial empowerment and education efforts. Michelle?
Thank you so much, Commissioner, and good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Deputy Mayor. It's a pleasure to be here today, and I greatly appreciate the opportunity to share with you information about our agency and our programs that we offer through the Office of Financial Empowerment and Education at DISB. This office was created in 2020 as a response to all of the issues that we have seen coming up in the community as it relates to personal finance and how people can manage their money on a personal level. Many of these efforts right now for the recovery have been focused on businesses, and we also want to make sure that residents have the opportunity to understand how to manage their money. You can move to the next slide. All right, there are a number of things that can occur, and what we have seen in this industry right now and in this environment is because of COVID-19, many individuals have been suffering from the loss of their jobs, through loss of income, and having to use more of their savings. And so one of the things that we advocate at our agency is to make sure individuals understand and have resources that are available to them to help them manage their personal finances. We really want to break the cycle of unbanked and underbanked individuals in the District of Columbia. Right now, on average, 8% of the district residents are unbanked. That means they don't have a bank account and they are not using traditional financial services. About 21% are underbanked. So they may have a bank account, however, they are still using high-cost alternative financial services. So this can create a rub for someone as they're trying to manage their personal finances. Our agency, and specifically through our Bank on DC program, we partner to develop relationships with the financial institutions to create programs and products that can work for our residents. Additionally, we know that public trust is something that's very important, and many individuals are not clear on what they can do with their personal finances and who they can talk to. So we do have a number of programs where we're trying to establish and additionally create more trust. You'll see, and the Commissioner has already shared on the next slide, a number of the programs that we have available throughout the district, throughout our agency, excuse me. We've touched on Bank on DC. Additionally, it's tax time. And for the Earned Income Tax Credit, this is a great opportunity for individuals to be able to access more of their money in the tax space. And so if you have not filed your taxes yet, please do so. It's by April 15th that you need to file, but make sure that you're taking advantage of the credits that may be available to you. Additionally, we do have our Financially Fit DC program, and we have just launched our Financial Navigators program, which will be available on the next slides. And I am remiss to also share that our Opportunity Accounts is a program where people can have a match savings, as the commissioner said. If you can move to the next slide. While we know it's very tough to manage your money in an emergency, there are a couple of steps and a couple of things that we want to share with you so that you can think about it. The video that was played earlier, the PSA, covered a lot of this, but some of the main things to think about is if you're in an emergency with your finances, control your spending, manage your debt, avoid new debt. I always say invest in yourself and then protect what you have. And remember, it may not feel like it, but a crisis is not forever. Next slide. This week, we have the national conversation about America Saves Week. And with that, this is an opportunity to talk about savings. So there's a partnership of over 1,700 organizations to come together and bring information about finances. As we are in the Tuesday effort, it is Save for the Unexpected. There's a number of themes for each day, and you can find out more about this information if you follow our Twitter at DCDISB on Twitter. Next slide. We've also launched, as of yesterday, the Financial Navigators program. This is a free program to help district residents facing financial struggles during the public health emergency. We are doing this program in partnership with United Planning Organization, to facilitate the program for us. An individual can go to the next slide, please. An individual can contact a financial navigator to find out how they can help them with their finances, manage their money, and connect them to resources. And now I would like to turn our attention to our Opportunity Accounts program and introduce one of our participants. As Commissioner Woods mentioned, this Opportunity Accounts program is a match savings program, and it's an opportunity for you to figure out what other things that you want to do with your finances. And so Ms. Alana Joyner will share with us her experience with the program and our vendor, Capital Area Asset Builders, to provide and produce this program. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alana Joyner. I'm 27 years old, and I am a new proud homeowner in Ward 7. My father and his family are third-generation D.C. natives, and prior to being a homeowner, my son and I lived with my grandmother for about 4 years at our family home in Mount Pleasant. Living with family was amazing and helped me save money, but obtaining wealth and stability was my long-term goal. In August 2019, Lisa Dean, president of Federal Contractors, Inc., informed me about the Mayor's DC Opportunities Match Savings Program. I began the application process in August 2019. There was a 2-month waiting period due to the limited number of slots, but during this time, the team was responsive with inquiries and updates regarding my application. In October 2019, I received my welcome letter and began my savings journey. I saved $125 per pay period directly into my DC Opportunity Match Savings Fund, and in January 2020, I attended a financial education workshop with Capital Area Asset Builders. This workshop was facilitated by Kenneth Lampkin, and during this workshop, Mr. Lampkin moralized the importance of understanding my personal spending habits. After completing that course, I understood the importance of saving my money and spending my money responsibly. I completed my savings journey in March 2020 with a total of $1,500, and DC Opportunity matched my savings with $6,000. Once I attained my savings goal, I began my journey towards home ownership. This program provided me with down payment assistance for my home, but most importantly, this program enlightened me about financial literacy. In addition to the Mayor's DC Opportunities Program, I completed the Home Purchase Assistance Program and Employer Assisted Housing Program, which allotted a total of $100,500 towards the purchase of my first home. I work for the DC Department of Employment Services, Office of Paid Family Leave, and in September 2020, I officially became a first-time homeowner in Washington, D.C. Thanks to the Mayor's programs, I was able to afford a home that my son can call his own. This home is my first investment and will hopefully create generational wealth in the future for me and my family. Thank you to the Mayor, Department of Insurance, Securities, and Banking, and Capital Area Asset Builders for this opportunity. These are accomplishments that my family will benefit from for generations. Thank you.
Wow. Alana, thank you for joining us. And I know we're going to ask some questions of you to hear more about your journey, but really impressive what you laid out before us. And we have one final guest that we want to bring into the conversation, and then we'll also go to the phone lines and social media. So if you have questions, press 0 now. If you want to share your experience, press 0 now. Or go into the chat on Facebook and ask us a question there. Or on Twitter, you could use the hashtag DCHope. So with that, we want to bring into the conversation our next guest, Caleb Quackenbush, who's a research associate at the Urban Institute. And he's done some research on tracking the credit health of Washington, D.C., and he's also going to tell us about how we as leaders can support inclusive recovery and help residents build financial health. So important to have him here. And Caleb, you got a tough job because Commissioner Woods and Michelle just laid out a whole host of things we're doing. But tell us where we stand today and where we should think about expanding beyond. So Caleb, I'll turn to you.
Yes, thanks so much. It is great to be here. My name is Caleb Quackenbush, and I am a researcher at the Urban Institute. For those unfamiliar, we're a nonprofit research organization that provides data, evidence, and solutions to help strengthen communities through better policies, programs, and practices. And my primary area of focus is on wealth and financial well-being of U.S. families. And so just a quick personal note, I came to D.C. First as a student at American University in 2007, and I've been in the area ever since, and I really love this city. So I'm glad to have the opportunity today to share what my colleagues and I learned about how D.C. residents are handling debt during the pandemic and what barriers to financial health they still face. So I should note before I continue that as an organization, Urban Institute does not take positions on issues, and the views expressed today are my own and should not be attributed to the Urban Institute. So first, we define financial health as a person's ability to manage their day-to-day finances, be resilient to economic shocks like those caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, and to pursue opportunities to build wealth and achieve financial security. Residents' financial health is vital to a city's economic vitality, and financial distress can cost cities millions of dollars. So we know from past research that when residents struggle, in addition to sort of the personal tragedies, that city government also misses out on tax revenue and has to shift resources away from other vital services toward programs that mitigate the damage from things like eviction and homelessness. So for this research, we analyzed data from one of the top 3 national credit bureaus to understand how DC residents' credit health changed between February and October of last year. So I think after the title slide, we have some just short definitions that I'll go over. We looked at 3 main factors. The first is credit scores, which are a composite measure of people's overall credit health. Second, we looked at credit use, which shows how much people are relying on credit to meet their needs and whether they are using high-cost alternative financial services like payday loans. And last, we looked at delinquencies, which measure whether people are behind on their debt payments. So the third slide should show a snapshot of credit scores. And we'll start with the good news. Overall, credit health improved during the pandemic last year in D.C. So in February of last year, about 26% of residents had a subprime credit score. That's a credit score of less than 600. And that declined to 23% of residents by October of last year. So another way of putting that is that the share of residents with prime credit scores increased. And having a prime credit score is important because credit scores are used to determine whether you can qualify for a loan. and how much you will have to pay for that loan if you do qualify. So the next slide, fourth slide, the improvement that is even more visible when we look at delinquencies. We saw steep drops in the share of people who are late on their loans. So we saw about a 28% drop in delinquencies for both student loans and credit cards, and at least a 50% drop for mortgages and alternative financial service loans. Now, we can't definitively unpack the causes of why credit health improved, but we do know that during the pandemic, both the federal government and D.C. acted aggressively to shore up residents' finances through a mix of income supports and borrower protections. So we know at the federal level that the CARES Act provided important protections for borrowers, especially for people with mortgages and student loans. And then there were income and loan programs, so your relief checks, unemployment insurance, and local measures like the Department of Employment Services Lost Wages Assistance that helps people keep paying their bills. So this is all good news, but we don't want to discount the fact that many D.C. residents still face deep financial challenges right now. So about 1 in 4 Washingtonians have debt in collections, and debt burdens vary across communities in the district. So I think the next slide kind of makes this point. Crucially, the gap that existed between majority white communities in Washington, D.C., and D.C.'s communities of color prior to the pandemic persisted into the pandemic. And research has long shown that communities of color experience worse financial outcomes than majority white communities, not because of individual or group shortcomings, but because of how racist policies and practices stripped wealth and limited opportunity for people of color throughout the nation's history. So we found that in neighborhoods where 60% or more of residents are people of color, residents are 5 times more likely to have debt in collection, they're 6 times more likely to have a subprime credit score, and 8 times more likely to use high-cost alternative financial service loans like payday and auto title loans. So our last slide kind of makes this point again, that when we map some of these things, there's a clear pattern where residents in Southeast and Northeast D.C., where the majority of residents are people of color, face higher debt burdens than residents in Northwest D.C., which is majority white. And outside of debt, we know that residents face many financial challenges, in addition to the health challenges and the personal loss inflicted by COVID-19. More than 100,000 D.C. workers with low incomes lost their jobs since the start of the pandemic, and the city's unemployment rate is around 8%, which is a little bit higher than the national rate. An analysis by the J.P. Morgan Chase Institute shows that checking account balances are falling faster for families with low incomes than for high-income families, which suggests that some might be at risk of exhausting their available financial assets. And then I'll just note that credit isn't the full picture. So we know from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau that about 9% of D.C. residents lack a credit file, and that those residents might be especially economically vulnerable. So what does this mean going forward? And how can we ensure that D.C.'s economic recovery includes all residents, regardless of race or zip code? In the near term, policymakers, I was really glad to hear about all of the things that DSB is doing right now. In the near term, policymakers and others in a position to support Washingtonians can make sure that people have the income supports that they need to make ends meet. So during tax season, as was noted earlier, we can make sure that residents in D.C. are aware of both the federal earned income tax credit as well as the city's supplement to the tax credit. And there are local direct assistance programs like Thrive East of the River that are supporting some families in Ward 8 with cash and other services. Employers can also provide, if they're in a strong enough position, can also provide emergency assistance to their employees, or they can even consider setting up employer-sponsored small dollar loans, which are, when well-designed, lower cost than payday loans. And then we can make sure that residents have access to bank accounts so that they can safely receive relief payments and loans. So as the situation develops, we can also consider extending or introducing additional protections for borrowers and renters. So as was mentioned, D.C. already implemented protections for mortgage and student loan borrowers beyond what the federal measures impose, and they've taken steps to limit evictions. So going forward, the city can continue to target recovery efforts towards the neighborhoods with the greatest needs by suspending fees and fines, which are often regressive, and to consider ways to target support, particularly to hard-hit industries like hospitality and restaurants. And I will note that I was really excited to learn about this Opportunity Saves program in DC because Urban Institute has very strong evidence that these matched savings programs do both alleviate hardship in the short term, and they also increase asset ownership, in particular home ownership and business ownership in the long term by 3 years. So it was great to hear about that, and I'm excited to learn a little bit more today. So I will kick it back over to you.
Great, and we'll bring in some audience questions, but first up, I just wanted to ask Alana, so the DC Opportunity accounts, you said you participated in that program. Was wondering kind of how you found it and then what your experience was in utilizing the program.
As I stated before, my aunt, her name is Lisa Dean, she sent it to me via email, and from there I just applied online. So, like I said, it was a 2-month waiting period, but I mean, the program was responsive as far as letting me know what documents were needed and if I was accepted. And there also was a limited number of slots. I believe it's only like 150 participants that can join every cohort. But other than that, I mean, the financial workshop that they had that Kenneth Lampkin facilitated was great. He gave a lot of insight to how savings and how you spend money can stem from childhood trauma. Like, you might not think about it that way, but the way you spend your money can be, habits from when you were a child. If you didn't have money and then you grow up and then you start spending money because you believe it makes you happy, but then you start spending money irresponsibly. So once you brought that to my attention, it kind of made me want to save a lot of money every month. So I started putting aside $125 every pay period. Even though, I wanted to spend it on other things, I thought about what he said, and I thought about my ultimate goal because I knew where I wanted to spend my money, and I knew that I wanted to get a home. So that program and that workshop was really what kind of helped me.
Great. Alana, your story is so moving and so proud of you for taking advantage of all these opportunities before you. Commissioner or Michelle, can you tell us a little bit more about the opportunity accounts and how residents should think about getting involved or applying for it?
Okay. I'll take that question. So a resident, in order to participate in the program, you need to be a DC resident. Additionally, you have to have a maximum annual household income of $54,250 for one adult and up to $62,000 for 2 adults living in the same household. You must have earned income and you have less than $10,000 in net assets. The most important part of the program, I think, is really the financial education in addition to the match savings. What we want to do is create habits, good financial habits, so an individual, like Alana said, can think about what they want to accomplish and matching that with their goals. There are a number of things that you can save funds for. Some of the things, like Alana said, was to purchase a home repair, as well as small business startup money, and some medical emergency or medical debt that may come up as well. So there's a number of different things. All of this information is also available on our website, disb.dc.gov.
And so, Michelle and Alana, so when you apply for the program, you kind of tell them about how you qualify for it, and then how long is the program before you receive the match? How many seminars or workshops do you go through?
Sure.
That 4-to-1 match is really impressive. It's hard to get that in a market or in the investment in another investment vehicle. So maybe Alana, do you want to talk about how long the process took for you? I know you mentioned the 2 months to get into it, but then once you were in it.
So for me, like I said, I received my welcome letter in October 2019. And you do have to take the financial literacy workshop, and I took that in January of 2020. Once you complete that workshop, you are able to start saving your funds, and you have up to, I believe, a year and a half, if I'm not mistaken, Ms. Hammond, to save that money. So it's up to you. You don't have to save $125 per pay period. You can save as much as you can afford, and, just depending on what your goal is. I started January 2020, and I ended March 2020. So I knew that my initial goal was just to save that $1,500 so that I can buy a home before the end of 2020.
Alana, you are a wise investor. I think you might be able to help be a financial navigator for some residents as well, given your
Love
experience.
to.
But Commissioner, yeah.
I just want to say, first, again, Alana, thank you for joining us today. And your story is powerful and it resonates with so many of us. And I think the beauty of it is that for many of our residents, the important thing is to start somewhere. And whether it's $25 a month or $125 or more, we want to encourage you, especially this week, to start somewhere, because it can and it will make a difference for your overall financial health and well-being.
Well, and then Commissioner, that's actually a great segue to the next question. So starting somewhere, sometimes we need some help, and I guess that's why you conceived the program, the Financial Navigators. So tell us a little bit more about that. It seems like just to get started, you need very little information. I know you gave a number, 202-231-7908 for residents to call. That's 202-231-7908. But what does a resident need when they call to kind of get through that financial navigator process?
Sure. So for that particular program, a resident will need to provide their name, zip code, language preference, phone number, and or email address. That is how they can get started once they talk to a navigator. They have the option of calling that number or completing the online application form at finnav. Let me make sure I got the right one. finnav.org/interest-DC.
And we'll make sure we put all that information up on our social media. We'll get it up on the coronavirus.dc.gov site. Now, tell me what happens in that 30 minutes or so that you spend with the financial navigator. What should folks kind of expect to talk about, or how should they prepare for when they do have their appointment?
So the navigator has information to share and to talk to an individual to help them prioritize their financial life and their financial issues. This is not a program where we will provide direct financial assistance. I just want to make sure that's clear. So no cash and no loans. However, we will help you prioritize how to manage your finances and to connect you to the resources that are here in the District of Columbia. In case you have questions, many times it's talking to an individual and having a voice on the other side of the line that can be helpful for someone. And so each appointment is individual to that person and their particular preferences and their things of concern. However, the navigator does help them prioritize what to do with their finances.
Okay. I think that's a great way to say no matter where you are, Commissioner, wherever you think whether you think you've got it all figured out or you don't have it figured out, the financial navigator gives you a sounding board to really kind of think about it, especially at this time as we hopefully are about to come out of the pandemic and into better days.
Absolutely. And so we do want to encourage residents to utilize this free program and to get the assistance and support that they need as it relates to their finances.
So, Alana, I see you shaking your head. It sounds like you have it all figured out, but do you think you're going to use the financial navigator to check on how you're doing?
Oh, I definitely will. This is actually the first time I'm hearing about it, so I'm excited. I'm definitely going to try it out once I finish this.
All right, I think you're going to wind up getting an appointment pretty easily. Commissioner, what do you think?
I think so.
Okay, good. All right, great. So we'll work on that. We do have some questions coming in from social media. Larissa asked about the who is the Student Loan Program Ombudsman, and also what do they do? When would you go to the Ombudsman? How do you utilize that resource?
So the department student loan ombudsman is Ricardo Jefferson, and you can reach out to him at ricardo.jefferson@dc.gov. Or feel free to visit our website, disby.dc.gov. There is a link for the Student Loan Ombudsman, and all the details around how to access him and information and resources are available on our website. The Student Loan Ombudsman is really positioned to advocate and support residents around student loan questions and issues and debt management. And so through the Student Loan Ombudsman, you can arrange for virtual virtual office hours where you can meet with him one-on-one, and he can work with you to address whatever questions or concerns you may have. We know that a lot of residents right now have questions around their student loan debt. We know that with the new Biden administration, there are a number of steps that are being considered around how to reduce the amount of student loan debt. And here in the district, there is a high volume of residents that have student loan debt. And so we want to make sure that if you have questions about your debt, how to manage it, that Ricardo can answer those questions and get you the necessary support that you need. So please reach out to him.
Fantastic. Another question, Commissioner, comes from Jennifer on Facebook. She asked about DSB. Can you share a link for commercial or residential tenants to look up if a landlord has received mortgage relief? Is that something that DSB can do, and how do folks navigate that?
Yes, and thank you for that question. Actually, during this COVID period, we have designed a mortgage deferment locator on our website for residents to go in and to identify whether or not their landlord has received any type of mortgage deferment. There's a tool that's available. If you go to DMPED.gov, click on COVID-19 resources, DSB mortgage deferment locator, and you can get all the information there around how to access that.
So Caleb, you mentioned a lot of different approaches. So you've got our attention right now. What is the one program? And I know for me, I'm very interested. You mentioned Thrive, and maybe talking a little bit about that program. But I'll ask also Kim R. Ford, if you're watching or if anybody's watching, let Kim R. Ford know that she owes me an update on Thrive. Definitely want to hear how that's going. But Caleb, tell me about like one program that you think it would be really helpful for the district to think about, given what we've laid out here today.
Gosh, that's a hard question. So yeah, as you mentioned, Thrive East of the River is one of the largest cash assistance programs. Although it's serving a small group of people right now, and I know some of my colleagues at the Urban Institute are doing an ongoing evaluation of it. But one of the core components of it, I think they're serving about 400 families and providing, I think there's an option of either $1,100 a month for 5 months or a lump sum of $5,500. And that direct cash support provides a lot of flexibility for families. And other large cash transfers like the Earned Income Tax Credit, I mentioned DC's supplement to the Earned Income Tax Credit provides critical infusions. And so we know that in even small amounts of cash, as little as $250 to $750, makes a big difference in terms of whether people experience evictions or miss utility payments. So, I guess my bottom line is, sort of cash supports to give people, sort of the optimum flexibility to meet, whatever unique circumstances that they're facing at the moment.
Great. And Caleb, we have a question that just came in from social media for you, is about that people, in the pandemic had lost their jobs and income. People had lost their jobs and income. So how would credit scores improve even in that environment? So just, I know on a macro level, 800,000 jobs before the pandemic in the district. We lost about 53,000 jobs. A lot of those jobs were in the hospitality sector. So I guess the question from social media is about, folks are losing their jobs, so they're losing their income. So how do credit scores still improve?
Yeah, so thanks for that question. And so I'll make 2 points. One is that, we are looking at sort of the share of residents with a, subprime credit score for the district. And so some people's credit scores are improving and some people's credit scores are decreasing. But one of the reasons, or one of the things to keep in mind with credit scores is there's a common misconception that income is a factor in your credit score. And in fact, it is not. In most cases, the primary factors that influence your overall credit score are your past history with debt and your current utilization. So, if you've successfully paid your previous debts on schedule, and if you are using a low share of debt relative to your income, that is what will, increase your credit score. And so we have a situation where people might still be getting, cash supports through various means, as I mentioned, and they're also right now during the pandemic, there are special measures in place that allow people to seek accommodations on their loans. If they're, affected by the pandemic, they can ask for forbearance, in mortgages, student loans. I know the federal government, automatically paused for federally backed suspended loans, but those loans are still counted as current. So people are counted as making on-time payments. And so that might be, some of the major factors of why credit scores are increasing right now. So again, it's not an income-driven metric. And then secondly, there are protections right now as well as income supports that are helping people make their debt payments on time.
Thank you for that. A couple mentions in Caleb's presentation and answer about the earned income tax credit. Commissioner Michelle, can you talk to us a little bit about what the earned income tax credit is and how district residents can take advantage of that credit?
Okay, so the Earned Income Tax Credit is a tax credit that is offered both on the federal level and the DC level for individuals that have earned income in the past tax year. It varies based on your income level. Many times now, especially in the pandemic, if you have not participated in the Earned Income Tax Credit before, you should talk to your tax advisor to see if it's something that's available to you now. This is one of the largest poverty reduction credits that the district has, as well as on the federal side. This can be combined with not only earned income tax credit, but also child tax credit for a large lump sum for an individual family that could really benefit from this, especially during this time in the community. So this is something that you can find out more about also on our website and also through our vendor capital area asset builders and community tax aid. I also will pivot and share with you, this is also the time to get qualified free tax preparation. And this is something that we advocate for as well. So as you are, someone may have lost their job or they may have lost some of their income, but if they had work experience in 2019 as well as 2020, they can apply for this credit. So most importantly, talk to your tax advisor or talk to an individual at one of the free tax preparation programs that are available now so that you can see if you qualify.
Actually, and that's a great point because you don't have to navigate the earned income tax credit. It's something that I was going to ask you to describe in 30 seconds or less just to lay out that challenge just as a joke. But it's a hard one to understand, I think. So the best thing to do is probably to get in front of that tax guidance. So how do folks find that free tax resource for tax preparation?
We have some resources on our website, DISB.dc.gov. Additionally, we also partner with Capital Area Asset Builders and Community Tax Aid. These are all websites that are available and they have the most up-to-date information. This year, taxes have been a challenge in the sense that people used to come face-to-face to get their taxes prepared. And that's not necessarily an option during the pandemic. And so many of our tax providers in the District of Columbia are pivoting and accepting tax documents in different ways. And so some of our partners also are, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. The name of one of the programs is United Planning Organization, excuse me. I want to keep calling them Urban because we have someone from Urban here. United Planning Organization, Community Tax Aid, Catholic Charities. There are a number of providers that are still trying to provide free tax preparation for residents.
Great. And it's okay. You've given us a lot of information today. So the way you've navigated all this information is really impressive. So I had a question. I think it's a little bit off topic, but I want to try to navigate this question too. And it's about building occupancy. It comes from Greg on Facebook. He asked how many staff persons can return to their offices. Is it 25%? Is there separate ruling for retail and restaurants? Okay, got it. So this is about reopen. So I know there's a lot of interest in reopen right now because people see that the health metrics are improving. And so we are seeing that. However, the virus is still with us, and we're still in the midst of this pandemic and the response to the pandemic. So what we want everyone to do is continue to utilize the testing that we have available. NeedATest.GetATest.com is where you find all the locations. You could also pre-register for a test so that when you go to the testing site, you're able to get through the testing site even faster. So again, we're still in the midst of the pandemic. Now, in terms of specific guidance, and that's what Greg is looking for, it's a really good question. So what you do is you go to coronavirus.dc.gov/phase2. That's where you can find all of the information about where we are with our health guidance as well. So important that we have all the health protocols in place in order to protect our residents, our workers, and our visitors. That's also why Mayor Bowser, and I announced it earlier, put together this program with the Department of Small Local Business Development, the Mayor's Office of Nightlife and Culture, as well as the Downtown DC bid and the Anacostia bid to make sure that businesses, nonprofits, and medical offices still have the needed PPE in order to protect their workers and their customers. So what we want you to do is keep looking at coronavirus.dc.gov/phase2 in order to make sure that you're up to speed on all of our health guidance. Right now for office, we're still encouraging telework. For retail, we're still at 25% capacity or occupancy. So what we want you to do is, again, continue to look at the website for more information. But in the meantime, we want all residents, workers, and visitors to check out the broad testing that we have available. All the testing is free. If you go to NeedATest.GetATest.com, that's where you can find out how you can get your free coronavirus test. And we have those 6 days a week at locations around the district. So thank you, Greg, for that question. And then I want to go to back to Commissioner Woods, just to talk about, you've laid out a lot of programs for individuals. How do you, when you think about this being America Saves Week, I know you laid out kind of thinking about how you start somewhere, how you also save for an emergency. What's kind of the biggest piece of advice that has been raised up for you as you prepared for this week and that you would impart upon our residents?
I would say that, and thank you for that question. I would say that one of the biggest pieces of advices that I would give to residents is that your finances matter. How you handle your finances is important. And oftentimes we may not get that message or understand that until a catastrophe strikes, or we may get that information early on. But whatever stage you get that information, it's important that you are attentive to your finances and the impact that it can have not only on your life, but on your family's life, on your community's lives. And so the information that you're hearing us share here today is really designed to help you make better financial decisions, to help you better understand your finances and manage your finances. Financial literacy is so important. There's so much information out there, and trying to understand your insurance policies, or trying to understand, securities and investments, or even your bank accounts. And a lot of that can be confusing. And so we want to help to educate you on how to navigate that, how to make sense of the various ways in which you interact with your finances. The Department of Insurance, Securities, and Banking is a regulatory agency, yes, but we're also here to empower you, to support you, to educate you about your finances. And that's some of what you've heard here today. And please visit our website for additional information and don't hesitate to reach out to us. I'll also add that if you've had any challenges related to any of your financial institutions and have a complaint, we do have a pretty robust complaint resolution program, and so feel free to reach out to us regarding any complaints you may have related to any of the financial institutions that you've interacted with.
All right, Michelle, I want to get your parting thought too, but I want to just ask you, which of the programs is your favorite?
Ooh, that's a tough question because I've had to put many of them together. Bank on DC is my heart, where we're providing access to affordable and safe checking and savings accounts. Financially Fit DC, I built that in 2017, and that is something where anybody can learn about their finances and we can meet you where you are. And then our newest program, Financial Navigators, that is something that we're piloting, and we want to see how we can help and engage people. And we have seen already, since it just started yesterday, there are a number of people that need some assistance. So I don't know if I can pick. It's like trying to pick your favorite child, and that's just not right. But I will say this, for anyone that's trying to figure out their finances, don't put your head in the sand. Acknowledge where you are, and then seek help if you need it. Many of the financial institutions are here to help you. There are resources available for you, and don't think that it's too late to get started. Even if you need just $1 to start saving, start somewhere, but get started.
Great. Caleb, I'll go to you for a parting thought.
Sure. So I think one thing that I was really encouraged by to learn about today was, again, the DC Saves, or the Opportunity DC account. This mass savings approach to building wealth is a proven design. So, Urban Institute a couple of years ago released results from a randomized control trial, which is a research design that creates very strong evidence, and found that in the short term it decreased material hardship by 34%. By giving people the assets and the confidence. And then by 3 years, it had increased home ownership among renters and business ownership among non-business owners by 50%. So really encouraging to hear about this program, and look forward to following its progress.
Great. And then Alana, your parting thoughts, parting advice?
I just want to say thank you again to the Capital Area Assets Builders and the Department of Insurance and Securities and Banking and the mayor for the programs, that I was able to take advantage of. And I'm here if there's any more assistance needed as far as doing outreach and things like that. But thank you so much for the opportunity.
Well, Alana, thank you for going and navigating all the programs that you have. I know you're going to continue to build on the success that you've had, and we're really proud to have you with us here today. So just want to thank all of the participants who joined us today. Really great conversation. We wanted to really have a conversation as we're in the midst of Black History Month about how we build Black wealth, and a lot of the steps we talked about today can help our residents do just that. So I want to thank the Department of Insurance, Securities, and Banking, Commissioner Woods, and the team for all their work in America Saves Weeks. Again, for our business owners and our employees at small businesses, remember that President Biden has established the next 2 weeks, so starting tomorrow and the 2 weeks that follow, exclusively for businesses of 20 employees or fewer to apply for PPP. So reach out to your bank, reach out to one of the CDFIs in the city, and ask them about applying for PPP. If you need more information about that program, we set up a site. Mayor Bowser wanted to make sure that our businesses look to that federal program, and that's why she established pppready.com. So check that out. And then again, another reminder that there's free PPE available for businesses, nonprofits, and medical offices. Check out coronavirus.com, coronavirus.dc.gov/phase 2, and that's where you can find more information about that. And then finally, one more plug for our free public testing need a test, getatest.com. Again, need a test, getatest.com. That's where you can find all of our locations for free testing, as well as pre-register to make your experience even smoother when you get to the testing site. So thank you all for joining us today. Continue to be safe, continue to take care of one another, and continue to mask up. Thank you again.